Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Welcome inside the fan cave, everyone. Bob Pompeani here, and yes, Jessica and Ray, I'll try to get as many as I can for you. I don't know where you want to put them, but I was very flattered and honored to hear that they would be doing that down at the Wild Things game sometime in August. So we'll figure that out once we figure out the Steelers schedule, I suppose. But we're here talking about the events of the night at 412-575-2600. We are live tonight, KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Andrew Fillipponi's up there. And boy, tonight we saw March Madness begin in a way that I didn't think you would start a game like this. The first game of the tournament ends up being one of the wildest finish that you would ever see. And St. Francis of Pennsylvania, unfortunately, was at the losing end of it, Andrew. But what a game, and I feel bad for them. You know, they had a chance to win that game. A couple of turnovers late. They lost the ball out of bounds, and then just a lucky play more than anything else lost it for them.
Yeah, and a young man from Pittsburgh had a shot at the end of the game for St. Francis. Kiski Academy product had that shot. Also, Damon Kelly plays a lot for them. He had a late foul, made some big plays too. He's a Penn Hills guy, and he was on the 5A Whitfield Championship team. And I heard he grew up wanting to be Richie Walsh as a Penn Hills guy. His two big muses, if you will, or guys he aspired to be, were Aaron Donald and Richie. But anyways, yeah, it was a great start to the tournament. But I do feel bad for St. Francis. They were trying to run down that first tournament victory ever for that program in their first time in the tournament since 1991. And it got started with a bang, with a very, very competitive game and a fun game to start it off.
It was a fun game. And then the other game, North Carolina, is making it seem like maybe they do deserve to be in this. I know it's just a play-in game, but against San Diego State, they had their way in the first half. That leads us to West Virginia, which complained so much so that the governor has decided to go into an investigation into what happened with the selection process. But they also lost their head coach today. Darian DeVries is moving on to Indiana to be the head coach of the Hoosiers. He's taking his son with him. So that's a good program in West Virginia. They do have resources they put into it. Who do you suspect might get that opportunity?
Well, I think they'll poach from Drake again. I think they'll take the current Drake coach. DeVries came from Drake, and the coach there now has Drake in the tournament, an 11 seed. They're going to play Missouri, and I like them to win that game, as a matter of fact. They're the slowest tempo team in America, Bob. If you thought Virginia played slow, wait till you watch the Drake Bulldogs in this tournament. They wait until there's about 3 seconds left on the shot clock before they do anything offensively. So not necessarily the most entertaining product, but the key piece here is that the athletic director at West Virginia and this coach there go way back to their time at Division II together, and they won national championships together at the D2 level. So I would suspect that's where they go. But I did see an article tonight that listed Bob Huggins as a wild card for that job, thinking if Rich Rod can get the head coaching job for football, and Bob has gotten his life back on track. He went to rehab. You did a great piece on him a couple of years ago going into the tournament, Bob. Could they call him and give him one more shot here to pursue what he's always wanted to do, and that's coach?
Well,
it'll be interesting.
And the thing I'll say about Bob Huggins is that if he gets that opportunity, you don't have to worry about him going anywhere else. He's waiting for a chance, and I think if all things are considered, he might. And we've seen a lot of comeback stories in coaching, right? I mean, Rich Rod is one of them.
Look at Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino is the most amazing one of all. He had to go over to Greece for 5 years because the NCAA didn't want to do anything with that case of his. He had to wait that time, even if he was innocent of what they were trying to do. And he came back, went to Iona, everywhere he's gone. So I would not rule that out whatsoever.
And, hey, what a great job he did this year at St. John's. You know, it stinks that Pitt is out of the Big East. They're just way late in this ACC, the NIL situation, missing the tournament again for the 6th time in 7 years. But you're going to watch a lot of these ex-Iona guys that Rick Pitino had there that transferred in the portal and are playing for big-time teams. The kid Clayton for Florida, who's a great player, he was with Rick Pitino at Iona. So look out for them. Everyone loves Florida in this tournament, but their best player, their leading scorer, is a guy who's a Rick Pitino product from Iona.
One thing about him, he knows how to build a program everywhere he's been. It's taken him 1 year, then 2. The second year is normally an explosive year for them. All right, we're going to take a break here. Open up the phone lines at 412-575-2600. Penguins lost tonight, typically fashion. They're up 2-0, and they give up 4 unanswered third-period goals. We'll get into that. And Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan had dinner with a quarterback tonight. We'll tell you who that is when we come back right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. All right, welcome back. This is our Xfinity Mobile tweet of the night from the Penguins. Sidney Crosby surpasses Wayne Gretzky for the 4th most points with a single franchise, 1,670. He got his 24th goal tonight. Really nice play on a rebound, put it home. Islanders somehow challenged that. They lost, but they end up winning a game here. We have a tweet here from John Portman. Hit us up at KD Pomp or the Pony Express. Penguins not up to the task again with the Islanders' third period push. They knew it was coming, and they went Dr. Jekyll after the Islanders' first goal. The Islanders' first goal was a result of some sloppy defense once again, and Tristan Jarry was trying to get his 5th win in a row, something they haven't done all year and won't now, but he could have made some of those saves, I'm sure, although they had 39 shots on goal. He made 36 saves, but some of the defensive lapses in this team really can drive anyone nuts, and I think we saw that in the third period.
Well, they've gotten outshot in a lot of these games, and they've won, and they've hit on power play goals. They've had Sidney Crosby play great. That top line with Raquel and Sid has been so productive, and Jarry has played better. But I wouldn't say during this stretch that they've grossly outplayed teams. They've just gotten better goaltending up until tonight and reverted back to some of the old Tristan Jarry things that have driven me and others crazy for such a long time. You know, Bob, I think because of what happened last year with the Penguins getting hot and making it close, starting to believe that might happen again. But I think this drove home the point that they're actually much further out of a playoff spot. And actually now, if you do the math on it, Bob, because if you add up the losses and overtime shootout losses, they're now guaranteed this year to lose more games than they'll win. How about that? There's still about a month of hockey left, and if you add up the regulation losses and the overtime losses, that's 42. And they play 82 games, so they're going to be guaranteed to have a losing season right now, which, it's this team was so consistent, remarkably consistent, making the playoffs every year. And they're in that spot we all dreaded, which is when these guys got older, making the playoffs would be tough and stuck halfway between rebuilding and trying to compete.
Yeah, it's not unlike what happened in Detroit, Chicago, and a number of other places as well. 412-575-2600. I had a lot of calls here. Pony, let's get to it. Dave in the north side, you're first up tonight. Dave, how are you? Number one Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night. Dave, that's you.
Crosby only needs like about 5 or 6 more points to get the all-time.
I think 6.
20 straight years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the first time ever that anyone's done it. Breaking the record that Wayne Gretzky had. He's been terrific, and even this year he's been terrific at 24 goals, but he needs help. And it can't be just a one-line team. And I think, Andrew, that's what they got going on right now, one-line team. They're relying too much on the top line, and they got some guys, they're working in, but I don't see many answers there on the bottom 9.
And Malkin's not the player he once was, but look at who his wingers are right now, Bob.
I know.
I mean, look at the guys he's playing with.
I think tonight. But, I mean, they're
right. I mean, what do you expect him to do with that? I mean, Sid has found guys like Drew O'Connor, and he's elevated their play like he did last year late in the season. But given where we're at with Malkin, I mean, you're asking way too much for him to maximize the abilities and talents of those guys or get them to another level, because they're not really true top 6 players. And that's part of the problem here with the Penguins, is that there's just a lack of young talent that's at the NHL level. Maybe there's some of it in the minor leagues or in their system, but the guys that they've got in their early 20s at the NHL level are really not players who I think are going to be a part of winning Penguins teams down the road.
Yeah, I would agree. It's going to take some time. If at all they do, end up getting here, it was going to take some time. We saw tonight that Joona Koppanen, first NHL point, was a goal as he was called up today, so good for him. Let's go back to the lines, and this is a football talk from Jen in Evansburg. What's up, Jen? How are you?
Hi, how you guys doing?
All right, what's up?
I just have a couple comments. I just wanted to say on an interview you had with the Rooneys at the end of the season, Mr. Rooney, he had said he wanted to sign one of the quarterbacks, but we know how that worked out. That didn't go anywhere. And as far as Mason Rudolph, I love him. I love him. But he's coming back to a coach that has no respect for him whatsoever. And
well, I would disagree with that. I think he supported Mason Rudolph whenever he could in those. Now, you can say he didn't handle him right. They didn't develop him the right way. That would be accurate. But, you know, let's not mistake ourselves into looking at last year. Mason's rating was not all that great. I think, though, if he's here, you know what you're going to get with him. I still think they're going to draft someone. I don't know if it's this year, next year. To that point, Andrew, we saw Tom Pelissero put out a tweet tonight that Jalen Milroe is at dinner tonight with Tomlin and Omar Khan. And today, Cam Hayward said he's tired of listening to Aaron Rodgers talk. It's just a conundrum.
How about that
right
comment,
now.
by the way? How about that comment from Hayward? I mean, I like that. You know, you get a little bit older, Bob. You know this. I know this. Especially when you're old in football years. But you know, he's old. He's an elder statesman in football years. You're losing that filter.
Yep.
And it kind of reminds me of Ben when I was doing the Roethlisberger show. Ben would say things, and I would think to myself, well, what are the consequences? What are they going to do, cut him? I mean, he knew that, so he would kind of speak his mind and not rip people, but he would be more honest. And I thought you heard that from Hayward today. I don't think he wants to, at his age in football years, to put up with the sideshow and distractions that come with Aaron Rodgers. And he was extremely supportive of Mason Rudolph, but, you know, he had ample opportunity on that podcast, I thought, just listening back to it, to either plead the fifth, give a diplomatic answer, give a politically correct answer on Rodgers, and he was just brutally honest. And I think he speaks for a lot of fans right now, and I wonder how many guys in that locker room agree with him, because the interesting thing is the whole crux of bringing Aaron Rodgers here, you would think, is to try to win with the older defensive players, guys like Hayward, Watt, and Minka, and maybe the best among those guys are close to it. Hayward doesn't sound that interested at all in bringing Aaron Rodgers to this football team.
Yeah, he said he's not interested in recruiting. He did that last year with Russell Wilson. You see our KDKA.com Connect poll of the night. Would you be fine with the Steelers drafting Jalen Milroe? Yes, no, or maybe depends on the round. Now, depends on the round tells me that he would be a developmental kind of guy, not someone to come right in here and play. That's why it may be next year before they get that person. But I could see a scenario here now, Pony, where they're going to be drafting quarterbacks at least maybe this year and next in search of that one guy that they really need to avoid what we've seen in the last 2 years, which is a complete house cleaning of the quarterback room.
Well, I think it would be a weird combination if it's Mason Rudolph and Jalen Milroe, because their styles are nothing alike. They couldn't be more different. I think Milroe, and we saw it 2 years ago at Alabama when Saban was still the coach, not so much last year. But when they made the college football playoff 2 years ago and he made that great throw to beat Auburn at the buzzer in the back of the end zone, you know, I thought he had the potential to be an NFL quarterback. Didn't show it really this year, but he's got great running skills, and he's got an arm, and it's just a matter of harnessing it. He's got to go to a team that I think gives him time to develop, but also has the coaching staff that puts him in that incubator. And I don't know, I don't really have a lot of confidence and faith that this team could do that. But there are teams with mobile quarterbacks who I believe should be interested. You know, the Jets, for example. If you've got Justin Fields as your starter, why not take a shot on Jalen Milroe as his backup, as a plan B type situation? You know, something like that I think could be a wise idea. But frankly, Bob, he's such a green, raw player. I don't trust the Steelers to develop a Jalen Milroe here. I just don't.
What I'd be looking at is someone more who can pass the ball from the pocket, but also has the legs to escape some of the pressure. Not necessarily a runner.
Well, Jackson Dart fits that description.
He does.
Starkey's guy actually does have that game.
I've looked at some of these mock drafts, and you can take them for what they are. I mean, it daily changes, but he in some, he's as high as number 9 overall. So he may be moving ahead of guys like Shedeur Sanders, or I don't know about Cam Ward, but he'll be there potentially in the top 10. Anyway, let's go back to the lines real quick. We have Brian in North Huntington. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'd like to ask, is there any talk of the Steelers getting back into the second round by maybe packaging up this year's 7th and maybe next year's 6th or something like that? And the point of doing it would be they don't want to let that running back from Kansas get away, that DJ get. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Well, I think, yeah, they want a second-round pick. They had to give it away to get Metcalf, but I think they're going to do their best to get one back somehow, some way. And keep in mind, they're going to have a little bit more of this flexibility next year when they get some of these compensatory picks. So that's why I think next year is probably the way. If you're going to move up, like, for example, this year, if Jackson Dart is available and there's teams out there sniffing around at 9 or 10, they'd have to move all the way up, not unlike what they did with Devin Bush. And I don't see that this year, given what they have available to them.
Bob, are you on Instagram?
Yes.
I'm not. It was brought to my attention that on Instagram a little while ago, George Pickens tweeted out sent out a photo of himself with Tom Brady on the sideline of a game. And look, usually I would say that means nothing. But Tom Brady runs the Vegas Raiders. He's basically in charge of that team. And so anytime we get stuff like this, I wonder if it's cryptic. I wonder if there's deeper meaning to it. And we've seen the Raiders trade for Steelers wide receivers twice. Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown, of course, Mr. Big Chest, your guy. And there's a big void there. I mean, they've got no wide receivers after the Devontae Adams trade. They were down to Trey Tucker from Pitt. And we know their tight end is amazing. They also have a history, Bob, of taking on players with baggage. I mean, that has been the Raiders' MO forever.
They seem to like it.
Going back to
Right.
Al Davis. Absolutely. So I would not put that past. That's a very Raiders move to be interested in a guy like George Pickens. And right now he is fueling the fire by putting out pictures like that on social media.
Social media drives me crazy. It's trying to figure that cryptic is the word. By the way, looking at the results so far of this poll about whether or not you want the Steelers to draft Jalen Milroe, most of the answers say no. 41% say no. So we'll see how that goes at the end of the night. In the meantime, we need to take a break. We'll come back with more. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week, right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Ken Rice is at the anchor desk right now getting set for KDK News at 11. Ken?
Bob, tonight we have exclusive new video showing the moment thieves smashed their way into a North Hills gun shop and shooting center. Plus, the National Weather Service confirming another tornado in this area. Mayor Ed Gainey earns a big endorsement and a nice little honor for you, Bob. All coming up at 11.
All right, Ken. Thank you very much. Look forward to that. So, Andrew, let's talk about Robert Morris. They play a tough matchup here coming up with Alabama. How do you see that going? I think it'll be close early, but eventually talent will win out. But I don't see them, Alabama, covering the spread. Do you?
I do. They play fast. They're athletic. They make a ton of threes. And so Robert Morris is really going to have its work cut out for them. They're going to need Alabama to go ice cold. And it can happen. And even then, it might be an uphill battle. The best thing I think they have going for them is it's an early game. Maybe they catch Alabama sleepwalking. They punch them in the mouth early in the game, and Alabama's stunned by it. But it's not an easy task. It's a very tall one, Bob, as a matter of fact.
No, it is. And the 22.5 points or whatever it is right now, that's tough. But we'll see. We saw tonight. Madness can happen at any time. We'll see what kind of game we got. Pony, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
See you, Bob.
See you later in the week. And that's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining us. And we'll do it again tomorrow right here at 10:35. See you at 11 on KDKA.